The first priority of Mother Elvisha was of faith formation. With great devotion and dedication, she prepared the children for the first Holy Communion. She believed that the formative years of a child's life was very essential in order to help them grow into a sincerely good man or woman. She drew up the syllabus for the guidance of teachers, providing them at the same time with many beautiful pictorial illustrations and charts which would attract and sustain the children's attention. She reserved for herself the religious instruction for higher classes. The girls in her care were given religious, social, and intellectual foundation. She started the sodality and junior sodality, whether they became postulants and took up the religious life, or married and took up familial responsibility. The girls from St. Anne's School were always highly esteemed. I have all her counsels in my heart, said one grateful student among the hundreds of others. Education, as she understood, was a means to great end, that is, to teach and help a person to save one's soul through the fulfillment of their duty to God, to their neighbor, and to oneself. She believed that every child that seeks admission in a Catholic school, whether of high or low caste, of whatever caste or creed or status in life, had a right to receive such type of education. She also admitted that the apostolate of education was a most arduous work. One of her students states, "This stage of my school, I have carried it with me, the happiest, the brightest, and the most sacred memories, foremost among which are the soul stirring talks conducted by our dear Sister Elvisha." Though headmistress of the school, Sister Elvisha was also the clerk and correspondent, and this left her with very little time for supervision. Yet she managed to keep in touch with the classes and their teachers by making her daily rounds through the school, questioning one class, hearing the recitation of another, examining exercise books, listening to a new song, inspecting handwork, and the like. Sometimes she took up a lesson that was in course and finished it herself. The children delighted to answer her questions and earn her approving smile and praise. No doubt, these visits from the headmistress were something the children looked forward to with pleasure and sorely missed when she was unable to go on her rounds. Her gentleness and charm put them on such easy terms with her that a group of little girls would venture to walk up to her class to remind her, "Sister, you have not come to our class today." Sister Elvisha's mind was so direct and well balanced, so absolutely sincere, that she could not but recognize her own capacity for the work entrusted to her. Still, she was never hindered by a false humility or timid shyness from acknowledging it. She was, however, too great a soul to take credit to herself, either for her powers or for her success. Her position as headmistress naturally brought her in touch with the major officials of education and other departments who made calls on her in season and out of season with inquiries, arguments, suggestions, demands, and requests. Even when they were sudden and unexpected, they found her always calm, trustful, and ready. She would tackle the business in hand in such masterly ways that visitors would leave her in admiration. Sister Elvisha virtually became the mental powerhouse from which emanated inspiration and plans to develop yet more the schools of the institutes in Malabar and other parts of the country, and later in Sri Lanka, besides those in Mangalore. She drew up, for the help of the headmistress, a code of regulation that has stood the test of time. In fact, in whatever capacity, she remained the trusted consultant to the end of her life. She also gave detailed directions to the headmistress regarding the maintenance of registers, log books, official correspondence, school reports, and other documents. Her perpetual youthfulness of heart, which she maintained up to old age, and her unaffected interest in small things were perhaps her chief natural charm. She gave equal importance for holidays, picnics, both for students, staff, and sisters. Mother Elvisha felt the need to train teachers to teach in schools. With the mighty efforts, she added a training department for teachers in the year 1890, thus supplying another need of the society. Immediately, she was appointed as the headmistress of the newly opened Teachers Training Institute at St. Anne's. From then on, she governed both the institutions. However, she made time to visit the classes and take up some classes for high school students. To the teacher trainees, she taught to cultivate for their pupils a love which is patient, enduring, and understanding. Sister Elvisha would seize upon every occasion to instill into her students self-responsibility and other obligations as teachers and show them how they should turn their opportunities to the best account. The invention of the cinema inspired her to use it in the teaching apostolate. She showed the staff how the cultural activities of the school, such as stage plays, rhythmical verses, speech making, etc., could be rightly turned into a means for promoting what is good from the standpoint of education and art. She encouraged them to train their pupils to appreciate and produce beauty in every form of life, into fashions, household decorations, and furnishing, which is a new spirit of youth, joy, and happiness and enthusiasm, combining what is most beautiful and modern in all forms of art. Many of the new methods, new ideals, new principles in education we read today had been anticipated by Sister Elvisha, who, like many other educators, well understood that the school was made for the children and not the children for the school. The training institution was for several years the only one of its kind in South India, and it goes without saying that hundreds of young women look back with gratitude to it for opening out to them a means of livelihood. The underlying principle of Mother Elvisha's monumental work and activities was to guarantee to young women a complete religious, social, and cultural formation. On this basic principle, she built up her educational policy. She rightly understood the true meaning of education. Her concept of it was not restricted to mere book lore, but extended to a wide sphere of knowledge, together with the thorough formation of the mind and intellect. Side by side, she realized that education would be incomplete and defective if it lacked the essential quality, the formation of character. It may be truly said that Sister Elvisha was a teacher all her life up to the age of 74 when she entered on a forced retirement. She was the head of St. Anne's School for full 36 years at a stretch. She possessed a rare intellect, a versatile mind, sound judgment, a power of discrimination rarely found in women. She was thus able to cope with the growing demands of the education department and not only maintain the high efficiency of the school under her, but also, marching in line with the current of the times, pursue the best of the modern methods and keep on ever forging ahead up to the year 1910, when, on the demise of Mother Marie Desange, she was elected Superior General of the Apostolic Carmel. The fact that she labored for the cause of education with zest equaled only by her power of execution needs no comment. Her works stand as loving monuments that speak for themselves. In 36 years, Mother Elvisha forged a philosophy of education in the furnace of service as a trainer of novices and headmistress of the schools. Let me conclude the second part of the talk here and continue the third part of the talk in the next video.